So this next video is a little bit odd, so I figured I'd make a little bit of an introduction here. It's actually two videos in one. I'm telling the story here of last Saturday I spent with my little brother. He's not really little anymore. He's a couple years younger than me, but we grew up riding motorcycles together, and he had a couple of wrecks. One was pretty bad, messed up his knee pretty bad. I think he was 19, 20, and he had a wreck subsequent to that. And he stopped riding shortly thereafter, got married, had a family. Understandably, that's kind of how it goes a lot of times with motorcycles. We grow up, and fortunately for me, I never grew up. I never stopped riding, so, you know, I've been riding since I was 12, 13, 14, something like that. But my brother just bought a new motorcycle, new to him anyway, a few months back, got it running. Great little motorcycle, it's probably 600 pounds. But anyway, we took our first ride on Saturday, but my condition to him was, okay, my brother, you haven't ridden in 30-something years, so you need some refresher training. Just so happens that I started this group, this riding practice thing called Gymkhana. I didn't actually start the practice of Gymkhana. Gymkhana is basically skill building riding. I think the original term Gymkhana was used as horsemanship. So Gymkhana rider was, I believe it started in Asia. So the Mongols practiced riding, warring on the backs of horses, and it grew from there. So there's a horse Gymkhana, there's a car Gymkhana that many people may know about, you know, where guys racing around a track, sliding sideways, all that. And this is motorcycle Gymkhana. There's actually an international group that conducts basically the same thing, skill building, but it's got more of an orientation on racing. We've got a racing component with American Gymkhana too, but it's mainly focused on skill building. There's no fee to ride, it's free to ride. We ask for donations just to build up the supply of cones and supplies and things like that, but it's not a money-making organization at all. Just kind of a way to get out and practice your skills. An easy, fast way to get out with your friends and practice your skills and have less chances of crashing on the road, getting hit by a car, being able to make all those turns that a lot of people don't make and wind up in the hospital or dead. So the two stories are, Saturday was the first ride with my brother in some 30-something years, and before we went riding, I got him to agree to some skill building exercises in a parking lot nearby his house. So that's what this is, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what Gymkhana is all about with the basic exercise that I made him do. And it only took him about 15 minutes, which is about typical. Some folks that have been riding for the last 30-something years like I have, still have trouble with this course initially. So it's not a surprise that somebody who hasn't ridden in 30 years had a little bit of trouble with people that ride, several times a year. Still can't do this drill, this exercise. But I think it's really important to not only show, hey, it's great riding with my brother for the first time in 30 years, but I look forward to more rides with him now that I feel confident that he's got some skills. He's got a new tool set that he can practice anytime in a parking lot, and hopefully I'll cover all that, and I may add some commentary along during the video. But you get to see a quick glimpse of what Gymkhana is all about, and it's something that you can practice yourself in a parking lot. If I explain it correctly in this video, hopefully I can come back in and patch in some of the fill in the blanks that I left. I didn't really do a good job of coaching him this day, but hopefully I can do that in this video, and you can get an idea. If you ride motorcycles, or you're thinking about riding motorcycles, this is a great way to build up your confidence and your competence. Competence and confidence. I think those are things that go together. The more competent you are, the more confidence you have, and the more confidence you have, the more competent you become. So enjoy the video. I'll be adding some commentary, hopefully, and some links in the description, and I'll add some end screens at the end so you can check out more about Gymkhana and learn more about Gymkhana. And you know, if you have any questions, please ask in the comments, and I'll steer you in the right direction, hopefully. And would love to see some people picking up some skills from this video, hopefully. Enjoy. So you've ridden your brand new to you motorcycle 15 miles since you've had it, which is probably a good thing. I'm kind of glad that you haven't ridden.
The circle drill.
Well, it's called the circle of trust. Basically, it's the first drill that you do, and you have to pass this drill before you can do any other Gymkhana. It's a conceptual thing in that the basics are learned in this simple drill rather than taking you around a corner or zigzag or something that's, you know, this is a consistent thing. This is a consistent thing where you have to prove your skill to be able to go into the course in Gymkhana. So any of the courses, the prerequisite is the circle of trust. So the basic concept is, if you can't do this, you don't need to be on the course. Sure. So in other words, practice this. We can set up 4, 5, 6 of these and have people practicing them. It's actually kind of fun. It gets boring after a few minutes if you master it. It's, you know, you're just going around in circles. But the concept is it's a 24-foot diameter circle. So in other words, this is the width of a typical American highway, from edge of the lane to edge of the lane, not shoulder, to both lanes. Okay. So in other words, if you're a competent motorcycle rider of any kind of motorcycle, besides a long stretched out chopper, some stupid custom motorcycle, if you're riding a factory produced motorcycle, you should be able to make this turn. You should be able to do a U-turn on a standard American width highway, which is 24 feet. It's 12 feet from the center to the outside. And what we tell you to do to start out with is circle the outside of the circle. Nobody seems to have a problem with that. You can get really close to the circle, but once you start getting confined inside the circle, life changes just with a foot of difference. Because you start focusing on, oh my gosh, I'm about to run into the cones, I'm about to run off the road, whatever's going through your mind, it becomes really difficult. So to practice the turning radius, it's a foot of difference, outside and inside, but it messes with your head. And to be able to get inside the circle, what we recommend is that you come in at a tight angle. You turn inside the circle after circling a few times, becoming comfortable with it. You turn inside the circle and immediately start following the inside cones as you circle. Rather than what most people do is they go straight across. They turn in and they go straight across. Like if I turned in here, this is what most people fail at the beginning, is they don't understand you need to give yourself as much space in the beginning as possible. So what most people do is go straight across and then try to make a right turn and then try to follow but what you have to do, and it's, if you have any competence riding at all, it's pretty easy. You may make a couple mistakes in the first few minutes, but what we recommend here is don't use your front brake in the beginning. You can get faster and better and more competent by using the front brake in the future, but just not out here while you're learning. So at low speeds especially, if you grab a handful of front brake, your front will wash out and you're going to dump your bike. So you don't want to do that. So everything you do out here during this first drill, once you get more competent, you can use both brakes or just front brake or whatever, however you want to. It gets tighter. Are you dragging your rear brake yet? You need to. gotta drag your rear brake. Slow down and give it throttle. Slow down and give it throttle. There you go. To give my brother credit, this is a very unnatural act. It's not how you learn to ride a motorcycle. You don't ride with the throttle and the brake and the clutch at the same time. It's very unnatural and makes you very uneasy the first time you try it. So after watching several hundred people learn how to do this and coaching quite a few of those, it's something that's just very typical. The unease, the discomfort, all that is naturally part of the learning process. What most riders fail to understand is that there are multiple ways to navigate through corners just like this. Most believe that the only way to successfully navigate a corner like this is through inputs through the handlebars, basically steering the motorcycle. But in addition, you can add throttle and brake and clutch to navigate the corners with acceleration and deceleration, in addition with inputs to the handlebar. And as Brad Pitt here approaches the corner, he can add brake on the right side and lean into the corner just by adding brake, no inputs at all. And he can also add throttle and clutch to right the bike up. So adding brake in a corner will push you into the corner. Adding throttle and clutch will push you out from the corner. But best to practice this in a parking lot instead of a street or a corner like this one. Throttle, 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 throttle and brake, throttle and brake, throttle and brake. There you go, just like that. More throttle, more throttle, more throttle, more throttle, more throttle. Slower, 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 more throttle. Slower and more throttle. Slower, more brake, more throttle, more brake, more throttle.
More throttle, more brake.
It's very uncomfortable. You're gonna have to do it though. To get inside that circle, you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to slow down and give it more throttle. More throttle, more throttle. It's not the first time this bike has been down. Ooh, you're smoking your brakes. Woo. You know what the problem is? You don't believe what I'm telling you.
I know what you're telling me.
This is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right.
More throttle, more brake, but my brake doesn't, what I'm telling you is my brake doesn't seem to be responding like I do.
It's smoking, Mark. Your brake is smoking. You're slowing your bike. So a bit of a breakdown here of what happened. He wasn't adding enough throttle and he wasn't feathering the clutch. He did not add enough throttle to keep the thing running as it stalled. As he braked the bike stalled because it was basically idling. He did not have enough throttle or clutch. If he would have just added throttle and clutch, he would have been able to right the bike immediately. Maintaining a higher throttle while feathering the clutch, balancing the bike with clutch and brake, he could have avoided this spill and quickly learned how to make these low-speed turns. It's essential to be able to balance your bike with throttle, brake, and clutch on this exercise. Adding throttle and clutch picks the bike up, makes it go straight, pushes it away from the turn, and keeps you from falling off your bike like you did here. Lots of throttle, lots of clutch, lots of brake. Mark, throttle, right there. Perfect. 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 You're going too fast. There you go. See if you can get inside there.
I'm ready to get inside there.
Yeah, you're doing much better, much better. Yes, 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 yes. You got it. More throttle though. You're way too low on your throttle. You're way too low. More throttle. More throttle. More throttle. Good. More throttle. More throttle. More throttle. Slow it down, but more throttle. More throttle. Stop. Come here. Stop. Stop. Turn it off.
I know
You're using a lot of brake, not enough clutch, and not enough throttle. You're using too much brake. The brake is to get your bike leaned in. That's all it is. You're slowing your bike down and getting it leaned into the turn.
Well, what you saying what I hear when you say throttle is
go faster.
Is go faster.
And that's not what I'm saying.
And rev it more. And I feel like I feel like, hey, I'm going fast enough.
No. You're going too fast.
So I'll press more brake to give it more throttle.
Well, that's why we're talking. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Right. More throttle does not mean more speed. You're going too fast already.
Yeah.
But if you go any slower, you're going to fall over when you give it too much brake. So you don't have enough throttle. You can't right the bike up when you drop the clutch. So in other words, when you let that clutch out, you need enough torque in that engine not to stall it.
Are you riding, you're feathering the clutch?
That's all I do. This is what I do. I go, wah, and that's all I do. I'm balancing the bike with the clutch and the brake the whole time I'm out here. Okay. Especially when I'm in a turn.
And that's good. Once I get to that throttle position that you like, then I got it. But it's you're telling me to throttle,
you don't have a throttle position. Your throttle is idle. You have to have some throttle. It's not gonna. You can't leave this bike from a dead stop at idle. You have to give it gas. You have to give it clutch. Right. That's what you're failing at. Right. You got way too much brake, and you're about to stall the bike. You're piecing it together. What you're doing is you're walking a tightrope, and you've got to learn how to walk that tightrope. That tightrope is throttle, brake, clutch. You've got to ride that tightrope correctly. Perfect. Slow it down, but perfect. That's perfect. More throttle, more brake, more clutch. Slow it down. Not that much brake. Boom, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. You almost dropped it again because you had too much brake and not enough throttle.
Well, I've got to get back to do that.
Slow it down. Slow it down. There you go. Now drop inside when you get comfortable. More throttle, more throttle, more throttle, more throttle.
Let me go left first.
You about got left mastered. More throttle. There you go. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. More throttle. Very good, very good, very good, very good. More throttle. Very good, very good. More throttle, more throttle, more throttle. There you go. You're a master and left.
It feels more difficult than it looks, maybe.
You're going too fast. There you go. Perfect, 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 perfect. Perfect. Look at that.
It's a feel thing that's got to come.
Dude,
It's not natural to.
you have now mastered it. You can go on to a Gymkhana course now. All you have to do is well, but this part of it, you've just crossed a mountaintop. Everest is down the road, but you have crossed your first mountaintop. This is huge. Most people don't ever get this kind of training ever in their lives.
Because that relationship of those three things, throttle, clutch, and brake.
Yeah. Well, it's
like I said, when I first started riding, when we started riding a long time ago, I used my brake to stop.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And it's a balanced brake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clutch function that takes practice.
It's a huge thing that helps you tremendously, and not just this. You're screwing around. You're waiting to go riding. Every day before you go riding, you can do the same thing in between those two parking spaces right there. That's essentially the same circle. That's why I put these out here, so it would be, you won't get screwed up with the lines, number one, but you could do the same thing in any parking lot. They're basically 24 feet. Two spaces are 24 feet apart typically, the width of two cars. But yeah, I mean, this is the bike you're going to be riding, so you need to be practicing on this bike. And you can do this every time before you go riding. Just go goof around in a parking lot, 2 spaces. You can do this in 2 parking spaces. Basically the same thing. Just do a drill, do your figure eight. Yeah, do your figure eight. Do a couple of circles in 2 spaces, and then do a figure eight. As you're coming out of that second thing, you do the other spaces. Do your figure eights. There is an obstacle called a figure eight, and it's basically 2 circles put together. So, and that makes that,
doing this and then going the opposite
it makes it a little bit more fun. And not just that, you can practice this in your turns when you're on the highway. Give it a little bit of throttle when you're in the corner, and it'll pick up and it'll throw your bike out to the outside of the corner. Give it some brake in the corner, and you will notice you'll fall into the corner. You're going a little bit wide in the corner.
Really the thing that for me personally that I need to get better at is that relationship of my brake.
Yes, you do. But now you have the beginnings of the tools that you need. You have a new tool set that you can practice now. Pick up these cones. So this brief 20-minute drill that we practiced in the parking lot made me feel so much more comfortable about the idea of my brother getting back into riding after so many years. It made me much more comfortable, and at least he has some ideas about what he can do to practice and improve when he's not on the highway, and I was pretty happy about that.
Damn it, man. That was a nice little stretch of road.
So if you ride a motorcycle on the street, I highly recommend that you try this drill in a parking lot, an empty parking lot on a Sunday or a weekend where there's not a lot of cars riding around, and realize how difficult it is to turn in a 24-foot radius, and you will realize pretty quickly that you probably need to start practicing some of your skills. And you will also realize that the more you practice, your skills build exponentially, and you will be much more of a competent and confident rider as a result. So get out there and practice, and let me know if you have any questions about Gymkhana, skill building, or anything else having to do with motorcycles in the comments below.